Maybe you think lab coats, classrooms, something fundamental, maybe even a bit static.
Yeah, something established.
But the truth is, chemistry right now is just buzzing. It's moving incredibly fast. These advancements are having huge impacts all around us.
That's exactly it. It's not just foundational, it's really a cutting-edge frontier. And today we're doing a deep dive into some of the biggest recent breakthroughs.
Right, and this is all based on that detailed analysis you shared with us from the source Frontiers in Modern Chemistry. So our mission, really, is to pull out the key insights for you, the listener.
Yeah, to help understand how chemistry is genuinely shaping the future. We're talking medicine, materials, sustainability.
And it's striking how often these breakthroughs aren't just pure chemistry, right? They blend with other fields.
Oh, absolutely. It's deeply tied in with AI now, nanotechnology, advanced computing. It's very interdisciplinary, a real push forward on multiple fronts.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Where is this making maybe the most immediate impact? Let's start with accelerating medicine and drug discovery.
Yeah, this is a huge one. Chemistry is giving us revolutionary new tools here.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally changing the pace of developing new therapies.
Speeding things up significantly.
Massively. Things that took years, decades even, are being compressed, dramatically accelerated.
And the source really points to artificial intelligence, AI, as a massive driver for this.
Yeah.
How exactly is AI doing that?
Well, AI, machine learning, they're chewing through unbelievable amounts of data, genetic info, protein structures, chemical libraries, just vast data sets.
Okay.
And they can predict, with increasing accuracy, how a potential drug might behave in the body. Side effects, even, before you synthesize the thing.
Yeah.
They can find new biological targets we didn't know about, and maybe most amazingly, design totally new molecular structures from the ground up.
So it's not just faster, it's almost a different way of discovering, like skipping huge amounts of lab work.
Exactly. Think of designing the perfect key instead of trying millions in a lock. The source mentions using AI to find cancer drug candidates by predicting precisely how they'll bind to target proteins. And it's vital for antibiotic resistance, too, designing new molecules bacteria haven't seen. It just slashes the time and, frankly, the enormous cost.
That acceleration is just staggering, and it links nicely to the next point, targeted therapeutics. It's not just finding any drug, but getting it exactly where it needs to go.
Precisely. That's the goal. Deliver the medicine, straight to the diseased cells or tissue, and minimize the damage to healthy parts. Reducing side effects is central here.
Right.
And the core chemistry enabling this is something called bioconjugation. It's basically linking different molecules together cleverly, giving them combined functions.
Like a molecular delivery truck attached to the medicine.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. Antibody-drug conjugates, ADCs, are a prime example the source talks about. Okay. You take a potent cancer drug, link it chemically to an antibody, and that antibody is designed to only stick to cancer cells. Very targeted.
That's clever.
And the source also mentions progress in making complex molecules like peptides or these things called macrocycles easier to take, like in a pill. Orally bioavailable. That's a tough chemical challenge, but makes treatment much easier.
And it's not just pills or ADCs anymore, is it? The source talks about totally novel therapeutic modalities. What kind of things are we seeing there?
Yeah, we're moving beyond traditional approaches. Think therapies based on bigger, more complex biological molecules, or even engineered cells.
Like mRNA.
mRNA vaccines and therapies are the big example everyone knows now, but also peptide inhibitors, cell-based therapies. Chemistry is essential for making these work, modifying them, delivering them.
Any specific examples that really stand out from the source?
Definitely. It mentions research into inhalable mRNA. Imagine treating lung diseases directly that way.
Wow, okay.
And new chemical strategies for really tough conditions, like inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, or sickle cell disease, using these novel types of therapies.
It's really expanding the whole medical toolkit. Now, the source also mentions something interesting, the comeback of phenotypic screening. What's that about?
Right. So historically, sometimes you just test compounds to see if they did something useful in a cell, culture, or organism without actually knowing how they worked. That's phenotypic screening.
Kind of a black box approach.
A bit, yeah. But it's having a resurgence because with better imaging and automation, it can uncover unexpected pathways, things you wouldn't find if you only targeted known proteins.
Okay, so you find something that works, but then you still need to figure out the why.
Exactly. That next step is called target deconvolution, figuring out the mechanism. And chemistry is key here, too, especially techniques like chemical proteomics, using chemical probes to figure out what the compound is actually interacting with inside the cell.
So pulling all this together then, for you, the listener, what's the bottom line?
It means, well, potentially much faster access to new treatments, life-saving treatments potentially, and therapies that are more precise hit the target better, which should mean fewer awful side effects. It's really changing the whole landscape of healthcare.
That impact on health is just incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears now. From the microscopic world inside us to the tangible stuff around us, materials.
Yeah.
Chemistry is literally building the future, making things that nature never invented.
Absolutely. Chemistry's power to synthesize and structure matter at all sorts of scales lets us create materials with tailor-made properties, often extraordinary properties.
And the source jumps right into advanced metamaterials. These
Almost sci-fi. What are they?
They're materials engineered not just for what they're made of chemically, but for their structure, usually at a scale smaller than the waves, like light or radio waves, they're meant to interact with.
So the structural lets them manipulate waves in weird ways.
In ways natural materials just can't, It allows them to control light, radio waves, sound. Manipulating light. Is that the whole invisibility cloak idea?
Well, that's one of the more speculative possibilities, yes. Still a ways off. But the real-world impacts are already happening, or very close.
Like what?
Things like better signal transmission for 5G, much higher resolution in MRI scans, maybe advanced noise canceling, and the tools making this possible. Computational design, really precise 3D printing, nanofabrication, chemistry and engineering working together.
Fascinating stuff. And alongside these smart materials, what makes a material smart?
They're materials designed to actively respond to their environment. They sense changes light, temperature, electricity, magnetic fields, chemicals, and react in a programmed way.
Can you give an example we might relate to?
Sure, think of smart windows. They tint automatically when the sun gets bright, saving energy.
Right.
Or maybe self-healing materials, concrete that can fix its own small cracks when it gets wet, or polymers that mend themselves with light. Chemistry designs the molecules that actually do the work.
That could revolutionize buildings, infrastructure, save a lot of energy. And then there's nanomaterials and nanomedicine. Still a very hot area, I take it.
Oh, definitely. Chemistry is absolutely central here, making and assembling things precisely at the nanoscale, billionths of a meter.
And materials act differently that small.
Completely differently, often. Their properties change. So nanocatalysts, for example, can make chemical reactions way more efficient, selective, less energy, less waste.
And using nano things for sensing.
Yeah, nanosensors can detect tiny, tiny amounts of things. Early disease markers, pollutants in the air or water. The source mentions using 2D materials for super-sensitive magnetic field detection at the nanoscale. And in medicine, nanoparticles are being engineered to carry drugs right to specific cells, like tumors, deliver the payload, controlled release. People are even working on mass-producing specific nanoparticles for cancer treatments.
The source also brings up aerogels and composites. What's special about them?
Aerogels are amazing. They're incredibly light, mostly air, really porous, sometimes called solid smoke. Chemistry is finding new ways to make them, and they're useful everywhere. Fantastic thermal insulation, materials for batteries and supercapacitors, soaking up oil spills, even in medicine for drug delivery or wound healing.
And composite aerogels, mixing them with other things.
Exactly. Combine them with other advanced materials. The source mentions things like amazines or MOFs, and you can get composites with, say, better electrical conductivity but still super light, or maybe much stronger, enhanced properties.
And it also mentioned 2D materials beyond graphene.
Right. Graphene was the breakthrough, the single layer of carbon. But chemists are now making and exploring all sorts of new 2D materials, stacking different ones together, making hybrid structures.
And these have unique properties, too.
Totally unique combinations, electronic, optical, mechanical. It's paving the way for next-gen electronics, sensors, catalysts. Lots of potential there.
So thinking about your daily life, how does all this material science affect you?
It's probably touching more than you think, or it soon will be. Your phone, your computer, they rely on advanced materials. Lighter cars, stronger buildings, maybe buildings that adapt to the weather. And future medical treatments, implants, drug delivery systems. Chemistry is fundamentally changing the actual stuff our world is built from.
Which brings us to maybe the most crucial area of all right now. using chemistry to drive towards a sustainable future, tackling those big environmental challenges.
Yeah, this is a massive driver for research. Chemistry is absolutely essential for finding solutions here, reducing waste, developing renewables, creating sustainable materials. It's critical.
And a key part of that seems to be novel catalysts for greener processes. How does chemistry make industry cleaner?
Catalysts are key. They speed up reactions or let them happen under milder conditions.
Right.
Lower temperature, lower pressure, saves energy.
Right.
So by designing better catalysts, chemists can cut energy use, reduce unwanted byproducts, maybe use safer starting materials, or even use renewable ones.
Like using different metals.
More common ones. Exactly. Moving away from expensive, sometimes toxic, precious metals towards catalysts based on abundant elements like iron or copper. Big focus there. Also, developing photocatalysts using light or electrocatalysts using electricity to drive reactions. Often works at room temperature, which is a huge energy saving. Less waste, too.
The source mentions sustainable ammonia synthesis. That sounds important for, well, food production.
Hugely important. Ammonia for fertilizers feeds the world, basically. And it might be a way to transport hydrogen fuel. But making it now uses tons of energy.
Yeah.
So chemists are working hard on new catalysts, new processes. Some don't even use transition metals. Others work under much milder conditions. Making ammonia production greener is a major goal.
And plastics. The source talks about plastic-eating enzymes, catalytic recycling. Is that really feasible?
It's a huge area of research, and yes, progress is being made. Discovering or engineering enzymes, developing chemical catalysts that can actually break down plastics back into their basic building blocks.
So you can reuse them properly.
Yeah, proper circular recycling, not just downcycling into lower value stuff. The source even mentions tackling tricky waste, like using sunlight to help recycle black plastics, which are normally hard to sort and recycle.
And getting away from fossil fuels. Renewable feedstocks?
Absolutely. Using biomass plants, waste wood, algae instead of oil to make chemicals and fuels. Chemists are finding ways to efficiently break down this plant matter and convert it into valuable chemicals, turning plants into little biofactories.
What about carbon capture and utilization? CCU. Capturing CO2 is one thing, but using it.
That's the really exciting part, utilization. Developing materials to grab CO2, maybe from power plants or even the air, and then using chemistry, catalysts again, to turn that CO2 into something useful.
Like what?
Fuels, plastics, building materials. The trick is making the capture materials cheap and scalable, and the conversion catalysts efficient and economical. Still challenges there, but huge potential.
And finally, just designing safer chemicals from the start. That sounds like a fundamental shift.
It is. It's the core idea of green chemistry. Thinking about safety and environmental impact right from the design stage, minimizing hazards throughout the entire life cycle of a chemical or product.
So finding alternatives to nasty stuff like PFAS, those forever chemicals.
Exactly. Developing safer alternatives, creating packaging that biodegrades or is easily recycled, building safety and sustainability in from the beginning.
So thinking about you, the listener, why is this sustainability push in chemistry so relevant?
Because, well, it's about the health of the planet you live on. Cleaner air, cleaner water, less waste, more sustainable products. It affects everything. Chemistry is providing the tools we absolutely need to tackle these urgent environmental crises.
It's clear that all these applications, medicine, materials, sustainability, they all depend on progress at a more fundamental level. The source really highlights this, the engine of discovery itself. Basic understanding, new techniques.
Exactly right. Applied science stands on the shoulders of fundamental research, pushing the limits of how we actually understand and manipulate molecules. That's what makes everything else possible.
So tell us about some of these advanced chemical synthesis techniques. How are chemists getting better at just making molecules?
They're finding much smarter ways, more precise, efficient, greener. Flow chemistry is one example. Doing reactions in continuous streams and tubes, not big vats.
Better control.
Much better control, yeah. Safer, easier to scale up to. Then there's mechanochemistry, using physical force, like grinding, to drive reactions. Often uses less solvent, less heat.
Interesting.
And biocatalysis, using nature's catalysts, enzymes, microbes, to do really specific complex chemistry under very gentle green conditions. Very powerful.
And understanding complex systems, that sounds, well, complex.
It is. But we have amazing new tools now. Advanced spectroscopy, incredible mass spectrometry, powerful computer modeling. They let chemists see what's happening in really intricate situations.
Like how proteins fold.
Exactly. Or how molecules organize themselves in context pictures. Seeing that dynamic choreography at the molecular level is fundamental to biology, materials, everything.
The source even mentions quantum chemistry and computation. That sounds very futuristic.
It is, but the potential is revolutionary. Quantum computers, those still early days, promise to model molecules with an accuracy we just can't achieve now, even with supercomputers.
What would that let us do?
It could completely change drug design, catalyst discovery, material science, accurately predicting how things will behave before we even try to make them. The source even mentions developing ways to visualize quantum phenomena for the quantum computer materials themselves.
And right down at the bedrock. Probing, bonding, and reaction mechanisms, understanding how atoms actually connect and react.
That's the absolute foundation. Understanding exactly how bonds form and break, the step-by-step dance molecules do during a reaction, that knowledge is power.
Why is it so critical?
Because it tells you how to design a better catalyst, how to create a material with a specific property, how to find a more efficient way to synthesize something. We use advanced tools like ultra-fast lasers to basically watch these reactions happen in real time, femtoseconds.
So even though this fundamental stuff might seem abstract, bonds, mechanisms...
It's the engine. It's what drives all the applications we've been talking about. It's where the deep understanding comes from, and that understanding lets us build the future.
Wow. Okay, so looking back at this deep dive into the frontiers in modern chemistry source, it's just undeniable how dynamic chemistry is right now. It's moving so fast.
Yeah.
We've gone from AI speeding up medicine and targeted therapies to revolutionary materials, huge efforts in sustainability and cleaning up the environment, right down to the fundamental science pushing the boundaries.
It really shows the incredible breadth and impact, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not some dusty old science. It's deeply woven into our lives and, well, our future.
And hopefully this discussion gives you, the listener, a better handle on the science behind the headlines when you hear about a new drug or a new battery or a recycling breakthrough.
Absolutely. It gives you that framework, that context for understanding what's driving these big changes.
So we'll leave you with a final thought to chew on. Chemistry is clearly giving us incredibly powerful tools to reshape medicine, materials, our whole environment, and it's happening fast. So the question for you is, what do you see as the biggest challenges or maybe the biggest opportunities for society in making sure we use these powerful tools responsibly and for the benefit of everyone?